pay tribute to someone for their sacrifices, professionalism, dedication, and service rendered to a grateful nation. On behalf of the presiding officer, Colonel Kenyon Bell, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you. I am Chief Master Sergeant Joe Bass, the 2nd Air Force Command Chief, a wingman, a battle buddy, at times a verbal sparring partner, but also a huge fan of Todd Simmons, and it is my distinct honor to be your narrator for today's ceremony.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This opportunity to honor an amazing American airman, Father. Father God, you have blessed him and you have kept him for 25 years, Father. Through the highs and the lows, through the deepest and darkest of valleys, Lord God, Christ, Lord God, that you've watched over him and you've kept him safe, Lord God. You've blessed him, Lord God, and you've made him into this amazing airman, Father God. We thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord God, for the impact and the influence, Lord God, and for the work that he's continuing to put in on behalf of his nation, Lord God. And what he's done for each of us, Lord God, and behind the scenes, Lord God, when nobody was watching, beyond us.
There's a lot that I want to talk about today. For those who know Chief Master Sergeant Todd Simmons, y'all know he's given me some very specific instructions. Very specific instructions. He told me I had about 9.4 minutes to wrap up his career. And now I'm telling him right now, I got the microphone. Chief Master Sergeant Air Force, right? Welcome. I know you would have no other way but to be here today. And if anybody was ever wondering whether or not this was a big deal and whether or not Chief Master Sergeant Simmons is a big deal, when you have Chief Master Sergeant Air Force come to your retirement ceremony, you're a big deal. So today, we're just going to acknowledge that Todd is a big deal, right? I'm going to say that a couple of times. Todd is a big deal. General Cotton, Mrs. Cotton, General Hector, Mrs. Hector, General Sullivan, and all of the other general officers in here, commanders, and et cetera. You know, there are so many general officers in here. I bet if we turned out the lights, there's so many stars, we could make a new constellation. And then when you look out, you see all the different chiefs and all the stripes, the senior NCOs and the NCOs. Anybody been overseas and saw the stars and stripes? We can make our own magazine, right? So it is truly an honor for me to be here today, and of course with Todd's wonderful family. But I want to address a question right up front that I know many people are probably asking. What in the world, or rather who in the world is Colonel Bell? And why is he retiring Chief Master Sergeant Simmons? I just acknowledged all the GOs in here and all the different people that he could have called upon. And I'm going to keep it real today for the 9.4 minutes that I do have. Well, we're actually cousins. And our mothers are sisters, so you know, we're from South Carolina. And so a lot of times when you're from South Carolina and you start talking about cousins, just because you live next door to somebody, you can be somebody's cousin. That's not the case. We are no kidding cousins. First cousins. So everybody here in this front row, I know very well. Some of the young ones I might not know quite as well, but that's okay. And as part of the family, there are many family members who have served as well, to begin right with Shannon. And this day is about Shannon and Giovanna and Amari as much as it is about Chief Simmons. And if I switch back and forth and say Todd, it is no disrespect at all. I got mad respect for Chief Master Sergeant, but at the same time, he's my cousin. But Giovanna, oh my goodness. You made the hair on the back of my neck stand up that I don't even have. One more time for her. So there are a few things that I want to highlight, and I just want to highlight the very first thing right up front. Hardyville, South Carolina is where Todd hails. Population right about now 5,011 or so. With all the contingency of folks that came down from Hardyville, dropped that a little bit, right? And here we are, an individual who almost didn't graduate from high school, who had to have a guidance counselor grab him by the scruff of his neck. Can I say that about Chief? He grabbed him by the scruff of his neck? Yeah. Grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and said, hey, we need to have you finish a certain number of qualifications so that we can get your degree, so that you can have options. And then he went on to have those options. But he, to his own statement, will tell you that he had to relearn so many different things that he didn't pick up in high school. But almost didn't graduate from high school to the point that now he is the command chief of Air University, overseeing all of the education for officers and enlisted. Oh my goodness, we are in America. This is a wonderful thing. And so we celebrate him today for the numerous accomplishments that he has made, that he has, and the impact that he has had. So I'm going to cover a few things about some of the accomplishments that he has had. And for those who are in uniform or who used to be in uniform, please bear with me for just a minute, because as you know, a lot of this is for Aunt Lulu, who may not have had the opportunity to see and hear, because we all know that Todd does not toot his own horn. And he won't talk about the things that have gone on through his 25-year career. He won't tell you about the time when he was in Osan and he was a part of a response force that had to go out and disarm a suicidal member who had a weapon and had dislodged his weapon and had discharged his weapon rather. And he was a part of the team that secured that site. He won't tell you that. He won't talk about how he was NCO of the year multiple times over. He's not going to tell you about that. And if you ever wondered about whether or not you could do research on him, because I tell you, I tried. I tried to go out, I canvassed a whole lot of folks, asking for dirt. I did. I said, hey, tell me something that I don't know. And man, you have paid off a whole lot of people. Because not many people came back with a whole lot of dirt. But time and time again, people talked about the good things. Then I realized, you know what? This is like the most documented man around. All you gotta do is go to his Facebook page and you'll see anything that you want to know about Chief Master Sergeant Simmons. So I said, all right, forget about everybody else. I'm just gonna go to his page. But then I had a chance to talk to his brother. And yes, there are a couple of things that maybe he wouldn't want to know. Somebody asked me earlier, hey, are we gonna learn some things? Yes, we're gonna learn a few things today. But when you think about the things that he has done, he is a defender by trade. And defender by trade means that you are a protector. And he has done all those things that you would expect a defender might do. Up through flight, going on deployments, taking care of his people, becoming a security forces manager. And doing that at the squadron level, moving on to be a command chief, and then on to Air University. So all of those things compound who he is. But at the same time, we can't stop with just those accomplishments that he's done. It's the lives that he has touched. Time and time again, as emails came floating back in, and as I talked to people about the impact that he has had on people, time and time again, it was about how he listens. How he listens to people, and then he takes action. Somebody even said, hey, you know what? I had the opportunity to talk to him, and and share with him about some of my ideas. And before I know it, the next time he was up giving a briefing, my ideas were on the briefing slides and being implemented. And that makes a difference. When people know that they can come to you and they can talk to you and you're going to make a difference based on what you're telling them. He learned very early, self-proclaimed story about himself. He learned early the importance of listening. So he's about to go and he's the security forces team lead of a team of 12. And they're headed down to South Command. And they're standing in line, and he's the master sergeant, of course. And so he's the master sergeant. He, of course, knows it all. He's got the top locker. So he's standing in line, and they're supposed to be headed off to Caracal. And he's standing in line for another C name of some country. And he is absolutely sure that this is the place that he's supposed to go. And the staff sergeant is standing in the other line. And then finally, when he realizes, nope, that is not where I'm supposed to go, the staff sergeant actually does know what he's talking about. He ends up not going to the other country in Venezuela and ends up going down to the Caribbean where they were supposed to be. And he knew then and realized then that listening was a skill that he had to perfect. And he has, in fact, perfected that. I had a chance to talk with one of the lieutenants that he mentored some time ago when he was a master sergeant. And so this was back when he was at Lakenheath. And if you remember back in the 2011 timeframe, there was a terrorist attack in Germany. And a terrorist actually went and killed a couple of his members of his security forces team and injured others as they were about to head off for deployment. And he was first to respond to make sure that the next of kin were identified and they were notified, and then continue to carry it through. That is the type of love and affection that Chief Master Sergeant Todd Simmons does over and over again. The stories continue to pour in about how he cares for people over and over. So as I mentioned, I went back and looked at some videos. And there's a wonderful video out concerning how he cares for first sergeants. And so this is kind of where it gets me in the gut a little bit. Of course, we all know that we have been implementing a resiliency tactical pause. And then we have been taking that forward to make sure that we care for airmen. And as my cousin, I looked at a video that I learned something about him that I did not know. Speaks to another very key component of who he is, transparency. And he talked very openly about how he was on the phone with his mom telling her that he planned on taking his own life. And then from that, he then had a first sergeant who came up and stood beside him. And in his words, it wasn't just that day, it was the next day and the next day. But in the video, what I also learned is that first sergeant grabbed him and took him on a deployment. Took him on a deployment when he didn't have to. But while he was on that deployment, that first sergeant consistently came up alongside of him and shared with him and found out, hey, what are your plans? What is your desire? What do you want to do? Are you okay? Not only saved his life, but gave him life, infused him with life. So now he has turned back around and has been giving back to first sergeants constantly. And that's just not one-off kind of a situation. While I was stationed at Tinker Air Force Base, we had the opportunity to have him come and speak to our Airman Leadership School. And so what I found out later is that while he was the command chief out at Edwards Air Force Base, he evidently did not appreciate the Airman Leadership School in the way that it was being conducted at the first Airman Leadership School that he went to. So knowing the type of person that he is, he told the wing commander, just simply, they kind of locked eyes and he said, I got this. They revamped the ALS, and he was known to have a stopwatch during the ALSs, timing the sequence of events as they were going on so they could make sure that they got it exactly right. Excellence personified. And his wing commander, Major General Schaefer, wanted to make sure and let you know that he and Pauline wished they could be here. But they certainly appreciated what you and Shannon did while y'all were in command, going around around from base to base, and gates out at Edwards Air Force Base can sometimes be an hour apart. And the care that you expressed for your airmen while you were there. They appreciate the partnership. He stated, and no one in here will be surprised, best command chief that he had out of a lot of 5. And that is something to certainly be proud of. But as we think about some of the other one-off things that he has done, FBI Academy, the youngest technical sergeant, the youngest NCO as a technical sergeant to go to the FBI Academy. Now you can take this one way or another. Not sure which way, I'll leave it up to you. But since he went as a technical sergeant, they have now changed the rules. The technical sergeants can't go anymore. You figure it out. But the fact is, when you think about the things that he has done and the things that he continues to do, it leaves no doubt that we are not surprised at all of the impact that he has had and he continues to have. When he deployed to LUD, one of his 5 deployments, he was out there as the senior security forces manager, but also the senior enlisted leader for over 600 personnel. Then as the junior member, the most junior member in his security forces career field, he was selected as the MAGCOM functional. That is impressive. When you talk about the MAGCOM functional, that means that you're going and you're establishing policy at the highest levels as the most junior Chief Master Sergeant in his career field. And then, of course, now he comes here and he gets to work with Lieutenant General Todd. And he is at the pinnacle of all impact that you can have on our United States Air Force, because now you're impacting the lives of so many who come here. Everybody comes back to Maxwell. Everybody comes back to Maxwell at some point in our careers. And the impact that he has had by making sure that over 700 senior NCOs and 70 commanders, he enabled the largest enlisted PME changes, enlisted professional military education changes in over 10 years. This is the impact that he has had on folks time and time again. In having a quick conversation with Chief Master Sergeant Air Force, he kind of related the fact that, Todd can move around and talk with our most junior enlisted members. He can talk with PhDs around here. He can talk with general officers, and he can share his vision, and he can captivate that audience in multiple arenas. And this quote came to mind for me. You may remember the poem if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. This is the type of leader that we have. The influence on airmen is widespread. The fact that he is now the Air University Command Chief, and arguably could have gone on to be 19 or 20. Could have gone on to be 19 or 20, but yet he has chosen that this is the offering. And so let me pause for a minute as I close out my 9.4 minutes. Shannon has served in her own right. They joined together as enlisted members. Then she went on to get her commission. She was in the logistics career field, and then she got her commission as a logistics readiness officer. And then through deployment, and then back, and then now they have 2 beautiful daughters who have gone on to, one graduate from University of Alabama. I knew somebody would say it. Roll Tide. And then Amari, who is now graphic design at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. And y'all were surprised when I told you that I knew these things already, because he talks about you all the time. He shares his love for you, and I know that he is extremely excited about this next chapter that's going to begin and going to continue on as he continues to serve just in a different capacity. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I am here in this particular capacity. So Todd, I thank you for allowing me to come and honor you as you culminate 25 years of dedicated service to our United States Air Force. If we could, we have all 600,000 of our United States Air Force members in here to express their thanks. But you have us here standing in everyone's stead, saying thank you for everything that you've done. You have certainly kept the watch And we are honored to be able to say thank you, well done, and best wishes for your next step. Ladies and gentlemen, let's honor Todd Simmons.
Thank you, Colonel Bell. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation by exceptionally meritorious conduct and the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Command Chief Master Sergeant, Headquarters Air University, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, from 16 August 2017 to 29 February 2020. In his critical role, Chief Simmons' leadership and vision were critical to elevating Air University as the Air Force's pinnacle institution for leadership development and education for more than 170,000 students annually. His outstanding leadership and ceaseless efforts throughout Air University resulted in unprecedented and historic changes supporting the Chief Master Sergeant Todd M. Simmons, effective 1 March 2020, you are relieved from active duty, Air University, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. Retired effective 1 March 2020 per AFI 36-3203 in the grade of Chief Master Sergeant by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Chief Simmons joined the Air Force as a Security Forces member, better known as a Defender. To relieve Chief Master Sergeant Todd Simmons of his Defender duties, please welcome Chief Master Sergeant Charles Flanagan, Major Weish, and Senior Airman Hundley.
This airman, he stood to watch while you lay in your bunks under the night sky. This airman, he stood to watch while some of you went off to learn a trade. This airman, he stood to watch while some of you went off. This airman stood to watch while he sent a glance down at Shannon, Mara, Jovan. Knows he's missed some birthdays, some holidays, some anniversaries. And Shannon needing that hand. Just a hand of God to get through tough times. He still stood to watch. But on this day, after 18 years on the war on terrorism, after 25 years of continued military joint operations, and after 25 years, 5 months, and 17 days, you hereby stand relieved. Relieved by the airmen that you've trained, you've led, you've mentored, and you've equipped. Chief Todd M. Simmons, you hereby stand relieved. We have the watch. Post.
Not being presented today, but put on display, Chief Master Sergeant Simmons has received certificates of appreciation from the Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump, the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Goldfein, and from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant Khalif Wright. He has also received congratulatory letters from the former Presidents of the United States, William. Complete if we did not take the time to recognize and pay tribute to the significant contributions and sacrifices made by Shannon. For Shannon, the certificate from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force reads, in grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Shannon A. Simmons for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed, General David Goldfein, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force, and Lieutenant General James R. Hecker, Commander and President, Air University. The next certificate Mrs. Simmons will receive is from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, and it reads as follows. On behalf of all Air Force airmen and their families, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force presents this certificate to Shannon A. Simmons. I join your spouse, family, and friends in thanking you for the numerous contributions and sacrifices you made in support of our United States Air Force. Your dedication gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service in defense of our nation. Signed, Khalif Wright, Chief Master Sergeant.
These certificates that the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force signed. How many times is he actually in the room?
Team, hold, forward, press. Team, I, full, arch.
Ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our country was originally founded. The portion of the flag denoting honor is the canton of blue, containing the stars representing states in which our veterans served proudly in uniform. The canton, filled with blue, dresses from left to right, and is inverted only when draped as a pall on a casket of a veteran who has served our country honorably in uniform. In the armed forces of the United States, at the ceremony of retreat, the flag is lowered, folded in a triangle, and kept under watch throughout the night as a tribute to our nation's honored dead. The next morning, it is brought up, and at this ceremony of reverence, run aloft as a symbol of our belief in the resurrection of the body. proclaim peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature, for as American citizens, trusting in God, it is in Him we turn to in times of peace, as well as in times of war, for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but she is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for our heart's life, for it is with our hearts that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag from all enemies, whether they are found within or outside the borders of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, so that we may see the light of day, and to honor Mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great has been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, for He too has given His sons and daughters for the defense of our country, since he or she was first born. The 11th fold, in the eyes of a Hebrew citizen, represents the Lord portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold, in the eyes of a Christian citizen, represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes the God of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. When the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our national motto, "In God We Trust." John Paul Jones. They were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving the rights, freedoms, and privileges we all enjoy today. We view the flag with devotion, for it represents our national heritage, noble deeds, splendid accomplishments, and untold sacrifices that combine to establish the moral character of our national foundation. Our flag is a symbol that makes our past one with the present and makes our present a prophecy for tomorrow. Chief Master Sergeant Simmons, you have continued to honor your country with dedicated duties, carry the American spirit, and duly spread patriotism wherever you have traveled. Our nation's flag is with you through your sleepless nights while you wondered what your future held. You watched as the nation's flag draped the caskets of what people call the unlucky ones. You realized what the American flag stood for and that it was a high price to be paid for freedom. You seized every opportunity to better yourself and impacted the great success of the United States Air Force. Your family celebrated your early days and the unyielding spirit and dedication to great ideals and strong principles that help make this country great. They are now part of you, driving you on to continue to serve in vital roles to enhance the capabilities of this great country. Now, as a nation's flag stands before you, sharing in a glory you have so honorably served, Chief Master Sergeant, you have answered the call to duty with selfless devotion to your country. You must now endure the loneliness that will defeat many. Throughout these perilous times, you maintain your steadfast to his country and the United States Armed Forces presented to him upon his retirement after honorable service in the United States Armed Forces from 14 September 1994 to 1 April 2020.
So this is not my Chief Master Sergeant retired 17-hour speech that's coming up, but you know, I promise to get you out of here. This is not going to be one of those events that we're here all day. But you know, the young folks are amazing, and if you can give up for Pratt Bill. I really don't want the thing to be about me. You'll see in a second less about me as possible. A lot of you will see me getting certificates today, but I wanted, you know, first our young folks around at almost 900 junior ROTC detachments are so amazing. And I think if I had one thing that get me up in the morning, every morning, fueled me, was knowing that folks like that are out there to replace all of us, regardless if it's in this uniform or working in corporate America or whatever. That has been a fuel of the last 2.5 years of my existence in your university, is when I need to fill up, I just drive a couple of miles to a high school. And let me tell you, it's been amazing. But today, I wanted them to come here because I wanted to honor that part of our mission here at Area University. And I also wanted to, none of my family know about to do this. So you never be in trouble about something here in a second. But, you know, I joined the Air Force, and you know, about a year or so after I joined the Air Force, my great-grandmother passed away. Everybody in these front 2 rows know who Lydia Jenkins is. Even if you're a family member or a family friend, you know, she was the center of the universe of this family for a lot of years, and raised 8 sisters. I mean, it's just, I mean, all kinds of things she's done, and all of us have a little DNA of Lydia Jenkins. But I remember, and my cousin Shanice is here, and I kind of the same age. And I remember being around my great-grandmother's house. All of us were raised around there at some point. And I remember a top drawer in her bedroom for years and years, and I've never told anybody in my family about this, but a top drawer for years and years, as far as I can remember. I always used to go in there and I used to read Western Union cables, and I used to look at decorations and stuff. And, you know, that stuck with me, and I never really said anything about it, but I knew it stuck with me throughout my career, because all of us have been through DC many times. You know, every time I went to DC, even took, where Sergeant Barnes around here, probably still pulling here out from the last 2 days, but, you know, I even took some young airmen with me a few months ago to honor them. But that stuck with me as a family legacy, and you know, I never told this individual this, but you know, and I wanted, and I invited him because he's my cousin, but I also invited him because I wanted to honor something. I wanted to honor something, and you know, March 1969, we lost Corporal Edward Green, Jr. And his son is here, Michael Green. And he was 19 years old, and he passed away in Vietnam. And I know you have never met your father. And that's the big deal. 19-year-old kid that's probably a year or 2 younger than those individuals who just left that stage, went over to fight for his country with a young wife at home. that wall, and I tried to tell you Dad's story. I went to that wall, and I found out when he died. I went to that wall, and I tried to honor him as best as I could in the truth. And I know I could only imagine never meeting your dad and knowing what he did. I want to let you know from me and everyone in here that your dad is here. And even though you never met him, that everyone in here has ever served and know what that sacrifice means. We've lost people, we've seen the effects of war. And I wanted you here tonight. I really was hoping you'd accept the invitation to come here. 25 years, this is the first time you've ever been to a military event for me. And I wanted to end my military career where it started, looking in that top drawer and seeing the cables that were sent about your dad. And I really appreciate you, so I'm going to present this gratitude. Wow. Chief Haskin, who battled with me for months on this ceremony, and all the volunteers they battled with me, and honestly, I did not want a lot of anything. You know, they had to force give me a little bit about on this stage that I did get. I didn't want to get a medal, you know, I didn't want anything, because, you know, I wanted this to go as fast as possible, so I can have as much time to say thank you to my family. And that's what I wanted to do. That's it. If I could just came in here at 10 o'clock and spent 30 minutes and said thank you, and we got an 8 country. So, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, but, you know, but I just want to say thank you. So, you know, a lot of folks have come out, all the friends and family, you know, I told a lot of you thank you last night, and I really meant that. But I want to talk about a few things right now, family. So, you know, I'll start with, you know, the folks. Hold on, before I do that, I can't even look at them. I need a moment, so I'm going to talk about some more people real quick. Before I go there. You know, but no, I do thank you. So many people here who I've served with all over the world and have come in to say thank you. And for me, I appreciate that because it honors my family. So we all know what that sacrifice means. And I am excited about leaving, but I know what my foundation has been, and it's been the United States Air Force. And it will always be my foundation as an airman, whatever I do for the rest of my life. So Chief Wright, you know, General Todd, Ms. Marsher, General Hector, Ms. Hector, General Sloan, and all the generals, and thank you for coming out again, and General Rothstein, and all of the chiefs I've worked with, you know, Colonel Crowley, all of the commanders and chiefs. I really appreciate you coming out because, you know, this has been a very big emotional roller coaster for me. And, you know, there's you know, Chief Jones, my battle brother over here, he told me what I'm going to say because he already heard me so many times. You know, but, you know, for me, this is special. I came here in 1995 as an airman basic at Air University, no stripes. I came here and I struggled, and I ended here at Air University as the command chief. And that could not have happened without everything that has been built in me over my life. That could not have happened. I could not have persevered through that. So I just want to say thank you to some folks. So before I start talking about anybody, let's just hand out some flowers before I got to do all that. All right. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this right now, but it's what I'm doing. Because otherwise, I'm going to flowers over the table. See, this is going to be a problem here in about 2 hours. I'm looking for Sergeant Todd over my shoulder. I'm not going to know where my keys are at. I got 17 minutes left. Tracking it. So to my brother's 10 years older than me. And, you know, so we grew up, you know, when you imagine, you know, when I was 10, he was 20. You know, when I was born, he was 10. You know, you get it. He's right. You know, but what that means is, you know, life has started for him, and, you know, I come along, and so we have never had, you know, the relationship that traditionally that that I probably always dreamed of. But I'm still here. And here with time on my hands now. Unemployment rejected, they rejected it, so you can't collect unemployment. So I'm going to collect work. So, but I appreciate everything you've done. And you have no idea how I have looked up to you when you were a police officer in our town, and when I used to always tell him about, I used to always go around, because he was a police officer and I was security forces, and I got Aaron Kinney, one of my young troops here, and I used to always talk about my brother's a badass SWAT man. And you know what? And my brother saw me at a time when he was a lot older, and he was a police officer in that town. And one of my childhood friends here will tell you, because we were some bad kids. A lot of times, even as a cop in our town, he knew his brother was doing bad, and he always tried to, all of us, if it was us, he always tried to give us the gentle nudge of going the right way. I didn't always listen. And I was luckier than most, and I know that. But I want to tell you I appreciate you. Even though we've never really spent a lot of time together, my brother, those two words probably come out of my mouth thousands of times. It has. And TC, thank you for keeping me in mind. Please, thank you. I mean, that's a hard job. So somebody got to do it. I let my sister Leslie, this is her daughter, Master Sergeant, is not here. She's here in Montgomery. I talked to her yesterday and she couldn't even talk. So she's out probably, cooking, because that's what she does. So I will be looking for 2 plates in about a couple hours. But again, same thing, right? I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And being the youngest is kind of difficult sometimes. And being the youngest, I felt like an outcast sometimes. But that's okay. But I just want you to know, I never, and I tell Sharon this all the time, I always say I never had a bad relationship. I just wish we had a relationship. And so life is for, life is for the living, and we're here. And I will tell you, that's what you do. You live and you mend the things, and everybody knows what I talk about constantly, so thank you. Man, Jonathan Young, I supposed to be my brother, and I'm trying to not focus here, but, Jonathan, through my sister, became like another brother to me. Because at the time, just because my mom was working so much at the time when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, my sister raised me a lot in the house, which meant that, her boyfriend at the time, Jonathan, the price of admission was your younger brother hang out with. You want to go on a date? Take him. You want to go to the movies? I ate a lot of Applebee's with this guy. I'm telling you, he introduced me to the baby back ribs. He introduced me to gin before my time. That's why I didn't drink gin in 25 years. All you gotta do is say, give the kids something, touch the iron if you know it's hot. I touched gin and I knew it was hot. So, but this guy's been like almost a surrogate dad. And I just want, man, I don't need to tell you how much I appreciate you. Just like I said, might not call all the time, I might not be in contact all the time, but again, just like my brothers come out of my mouth 1,000 times, there are a lot of people who know you also. My brother-in-law this, my brother-in-law that. My kids thought you were rich for like 10 years. I'm John. But I appreciate you. And my sister, 2 years ago, I was sitting at my desk, and that man called me and said, hey, you need to get home because you need to get home. And I came home, and my niece who was sitting next to me, Kamalani, and I talked, because you were coming from Texas, and I was coming from Alabama. We were converging at the same time. And I got home, and like I said, Lottie Jenkins was the matriarch of this family until 1996. Katrina Louise Young became the matriarch of this family after that. And I think we all know that sitting on this road today, 2 years later, we still hurt. and my family were always not able to be at a place for me in the Air Force, but steadfast while that seat is empty, because she would have been here. If I was in Japan, she was there. If I was in England, she was there. And that's tough for me, because it became an expectation that she would be there. And that's tough for everyone, I'm sure, because, yeah, it's tough. But I appreciate the life that you lived. And who I am is woven into all these people in the front rows. And people, even though Jay Evans and I had a conversation from his speech last night coming, but he made a point. My toughness, my mental toughness is from that woman. You want to talk about snoring in the room and sleeping in the room with Katrina Young snoring? You will find yourself soufflexed out of the front door in the hallway. My mental toughness came from her. And I appreciate the 3 hours I got to spend with her before she passed away. Because there was a lot of unresolved things with my whole family. I looked her in the eyes and she couldn't talk, and I appreciate the opportunity to say, go in peace. And it's not a day that go by and not, much like most women's stories, that I don't think about her. And I can say, I'm gonna stop her. And then her daughters, Kamalani and Kateria, with their kids here, and 2 amazing young ladies. And if you ever want to see what her legacy was, you look at them. Kamalani is a former staff sergeant who got out of the Air Force, to raise her son. Who's had some medical challenges. She got out of the Air Force to do what she needed to do. And her husband recently retired, who's not here. And she was proud of me. I was so proud to have an airman in our family, so proud to have airmen follow us. I did the research like you, we were the first 2 to join the Air Force. Your dad was in the Army? A lot of Army. I think every uncle we had was in the Army. And we're so proud that my nieces and cousins would come behind us. So thank y'all for being here. And I really appreciate it. Shanice, we're the closest in age. Boy, and you watched me be a terrible human being in high school. She's one of the smartest people I know, and Crummy don't talk about me graduating from high school. I will tell you, if it wasn't for my cousin Shanice, she don't remember that. You don't remember passing the message from my teachers to say, just turn something in and you can graduate? That's exactly what happened. She turned some blank piece of paper and I became a high school graduate. Anything is possible in this life. So I really appreciate it, man. We were the same age and group and stuff, but man, I cannot be more opposite from her. And Michael, same thing. You were a little older than me, but I've always respected you as a man. And I really appreciate it. I'm just honored to have you here today. And I'm going to finish up. Trust me, I got 8 minutes. I got great cake and cookies. All the cookies here roll tide. So, and I got a couple of childhood friends here. Michael Prime is right here. This guy, man. This guy used to ride to school with me every morning in my car. We had to put 2 quarts of transmission fuel. One on the way there and one on the way back. Every day. It got expensive, especially the $2 of gas that we had to pay to get us. Share some chicken strips at the truck stop. Those are good days, though. The one thing about this guy, where I'm proud he's here, this guy right here, man, he's talking about grit. This guy never let circumstances define him at all. And I learned a lot from you. And I tell Jonathan that all the time when he mentions your name. I remember a 16-year-old Michael Primus would go out there, go to school, work multiple jobs. If he wanted something, he went to work for it. And that man is a successful businessman today because of work ethic and grit and character. And I appreciate you, man. I've been learning from you from afar for a long time. And I really appreciate you being here. Cliff, stop telling people that you started my career. It's not true. But I appreciate it. One of the airmen friend that, I had for a long time and been here. There's so many other people. I'm not gonna, I'll keep going, but I got some close people here in the front. And Stephen Brown, his wife Andrea. Andrea only remembers me for everything bad I did in high school. So I was very, very nervous to meet her today. It hasn't been, it's been like 1992 since we saw each other. So I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. Statute of limitations is kind of over. Just let me live. But Stephen Brown, my oldest friend in life is here. This guy grew up 4 houses away from me, inseparable. You're talking about loyalty. This guy and I grew up together to the point where he comes from a large family of brothers. But that's my brother also. Because if someone messed with me, including his brothers, we fought his own brothers. Like, no, straight up. I've never seen anything like that. When you talk about blind loyalty, that dude can't see it. Because it used to shock me. I'm like, we fighting your brother. Both of us are your brother. But that's the kind of guy he was. That's the kind of man he was. He's like, he's been with me, and we took different paths in life. But man, that man has never stopped telling me that he's proud of me. You want to get a call at 7 o'clock at night, and someone tell you they're proud of you, who's shot. He took a different path in life. He's come full circle in life. And say, I'm proud of you, man. That's nothing. I mean, I can't even, you have no idea what that means to me. People tell you things all the time. People say things to you all the time, but you have no idea what your phone calls or texting mean. And I appreciate you. And, oh man. So, still got 5 minutes. So my kids, I can't tell you enough about my kids. I knew I wanted a family ever since I could spell family, which was about 6th grade. I knew I wanted one. And I said I knew the definition. But I just knew I wanted a family one day. My mom worked all the time. My brothers and sisters were older. I used to dream about eating at the dinner table. It just wasn't possible for us anymore. And I look at my kids today, and I look at my 23-year-old daughter, and she tells me, you know what I miss about living at home? The dinner table. I don't know if I was a good parent, but when she tells me that, I know I did something. And I'm so proud of both of y'all. Amari is, man, Amari, if you don't know my 18-year-old Amari, man, what a spirit. She's mixed between her and her mom. And I tell you, we still got the jail fund for you. She knows it's nothing bad. She's an extremely intelligent young lady. But man, she will protest anything. I'm telling you, man, I am so afraid when I get a call from, what's this, University of Alabama. I won't even tell you some of the phone calls I get from her about when she's about to go protest. I say, please, no. But man, I encourage that in her. I encourage her to stand up for what she believes in. I encourage her to be a free spirit. I encourage her to never define yourself by others allowing them to define you. You be who you are. And man, the dinner table conversations, we say that, and she took that to the extreme sometimes. But I love you for that. You have no idea how much I appreciate you. And for those of you who were out last night, my daughter's shy. For her to get on stage last night and prompt you have no idea. I went to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning last night because I was reading National Defense. No, that wasn't the case. But part of me, before I went to bed at 3 o'clock this morning, all I can think about is you and the moment that you gave me. And I really appreciate that. Savannah, I came into Savannah's life when she was 1. We don't even use the word step anything in my house. That's my daughter. That is my daughter. And I'm so proud of you. So proud of you, the woman you have become. Dudes have a hard what happened to you, and I know why. It's my fault. But I'm very proud of how you carry yourself. How you become the woman that I've always knew you would be. Thank you. All right. My mom. My mom made me a defender. My mom literally made me a defender. I was a guaranteed hospital administration clerk. Going into the Air Force in December of 1994. My mom knew that I probably was going to be in jail by December 1994. I didn't know for like 2 years that my mom and my recruiter cooked up an open general scheme that I signed. And I went to basic training really fast. Who knew? You can leave that state and walk. But my mom is the strongest woman I met on earth. And again, relationships come in, they hear sometimes, but I want you to know that everything I am, I've watched this lady run businesses, I've watched this lady have rises and highs and lows in her life, I've watched this lady take gut shots that will cripple anyone, will allow anyone just to fold. And she doesn't fold. You don't talk about a comeback kid, you don't talk about you. Well, you know why I learned how to read after coming into the Air Force for the 9th grade reading level? It's because I've seen this lady not fold. When algebra looked like Chinese to me, I knew I couldn't fold. This lady never folded. When the chips were down, all the way down, this lady never folded. Never folded. And I know 100% that's who I am. Come at me, bro. That's what my girl always says. I know when you come at me, I'm not going to fold. I know when it gets difficult, I'm not going to fold. And I know the only reason I don't fold is because you never did. And you taught everybody in this front row not to fold. Trina never folded. Last breath went out of her life, she never folded. Your family don't fold, and our family don't fold because we watch the women not fold. And I just want to give you, I get a shadow box, all of this stuff, but I wanted to give you I know my mom has everything that I've ever done somewhere on a wall in her house. And she actually built a section onto her house, I think. So I'm going to be honored to let you have my last 2 stripes I ever wore, a flag that was flown, my last ribbon wrap, and the defender badge that you made me wear. You're not supposed to need some hospital wipes. But I appreciate you. It's good to be here. I appreciate you. We're going to put this back up here for you, but I just wanted to show you that this is the last. So I'll be honored if you take this all the way back to Hardyville so you can get that population above 5,000. And display this.
That's right. You might forget.
We're almost out of here. Hamp, thank you for that. Boy, you almost had me in the spirit. Let's start going. It's tapping. Last but definitely not least, I'm probably forgetting somebody. I got Trevor Brewer here. Thanks for coming out. And Honorary Talbot. I cannot mention Friends without mentioning Honorary Talbot. This guy just drove down here from Louisiana. He's going to drive back in like 20 minutes because he got his kids at the babysitter. And that's friendship. That man taught me a lot. Never any jealousy. That man showed me how to live. That man showed me how to be a leader. When I happened to surpass in rank, always had my back. 100%. Every day. Regardless, man, you don't know how much I appreciate you, man. When things were not great, one 911 friend. And that's my 911 friend right there. If there's a hole to be dug, you dig it with it. Think that's what everyone you playing terms. But that's the thing. And Trevor, I'm so proud of you, what you continue to do, man. Super proud of you. Adversity, and what you have faced, so proud of you. And these guys up here who kept me up so late last night, smiling and smirking. Yes, I'm tired. And I just got a couple things before I go. I'm trying not to get you, Shannon. Trying not to. You know, Major Weiss, Airman Hundley, Flanagan, the only reason I retired as a defender today is because of the special people who can do it. Major Weiss and I have been together since he was a lieutenant. And he's only listened to me twice. We'll work on it. But I appreciate you being here. We took time out of school to be here. And Airman Hundley, you know, proud of you. We've had time, we spent some time on a trip, and I'm very proud of you. I'm very, very, very excited about your Air Force career in the future. And Flanagan and I, the only reason he's here is because I have pictures from our airman days. True story. No, Flanagan is a battle buddy from the old days, and we've come up together, and we had a clique of 5 people when we were airmen. We said, we're going to make it in this Air Force, and all of us are chiefs now. And Flanagan's that guy that's that 911 in uniform. And I love him, I don't know where he's at. But I love you, brother. Love you too. And Jen Kersey, man, that's the last person I were on. Jen Kersey is a chief's chief. It's a difference. I tell you what, don't let size fool you. Jen Kersey is somebody I've admired my entire senior NCO career. I was a master sergeant and I heard about Jen Kersey. Senior master sergeant, I heard about Jen Kersey. I finally get to meet Jen Kersey. Then I get to serve with Jen Kersey as MAJCOM functionals. And you're right, I was young, I was a baby. And she reminded me real fast. Don't be coming in here with that stupid stuff. Love your energy, but calm down. And I listen. Because Jen is a real deal, she's full of passion. And I appreciate you, sis. You've never let me down, ever. So thank you. I'll be thanking everybody here till 2 o'clock in the morning. To my wife, I will tell you right now, I'm not conservative. Well, first of all, this girl met me illegally. You know, I met her as someone called in a fake patrol call to the dorms. And they hooked us up. I responded as an A1C to a fake police call. I didn't know it was fake. And then I responded to the room, and she's sitting there, and they're all just sitting there having a great time. And then my friend said, I'm going to introduce you to this girl. And she followed me that day to my room. And she's been following me ever since. But I will tell you, I said always wanted a family. That's only half the battle. It's who you have a family with. And if I had to struggle a list of 300 million people, I could not come up with another person. People don't understand what you have done for me, and they probably never will. I saw crying in cars driving home because I couldn't pass college algebra. And she listened for about 10 seconds. And she said, all right, get back up. I told her I couldn't do this anymore. People don't realize when I was a Chief Master Sergeant Select, 18 years in the game, that I called my career field manager and said, I'm done, take this strap, I'm retiring. Got me back in the game. You don't know that I suffered and went through a bout of depression because I was so over everything. and she got me back in the game. You don't know that I left my wife to go to Qatar for 367 days, probably the worst time in our relationship. And she was still there. She got us back in the game. People don't realize that I'm supposed to be sitting there with flowers. She's supposed to be standing here. People don't realize that when we moved in together as senior airmen, this girl had a treasure trove of Airman of the Year. And he talked about my career. He didn't tell you that it happened to I was a tech sergeant. We moved in together. She put a whole panel of awards up as a senior and below the zone. I give you a pat on the back. Best this, best that, best this, best that. I was Airman of the Month at that point. It was a straight embarrassment. I was Airman of the Month, 3 years in, Airman of the Month. 3 years in, trophies as high as she can see. I never wanted to stay in the Air Force. We had a deal. Her dream was to become an officer in the United States Air Force. My dream was to become a high school teacher because I discovered learning at that point. I was like, man, learning is actually pretty cool. Like, when you learn to read, it's actually all right. And I wanted to be a high school teacher. I said, I want to go choose teaching. So bad that I didn't study for promotion for 3 times to tech. Commitment. We were committed to our dream. And she got an OTS first time. That was our dream. And then guess what? She came here to OTS and killed it. Left here with all the hardware. She became an officer. Everybody tried to make her exec. 5th Air Force exec. Group exec. She said, you know, I actually have a job. But everybody wanted this officer. You don't know that she ran combat operations in Iraq as a logistics readiness officer. You don't know that she faced extreme cultural issues in the United States Air Force as an airman, as an officer. That forced her out of the Air Force. People ask me, why are you so big in the culture? How do you care so much about how people feel when they break a threshold? It's because I watched the greatest officer I've ever known be failed by culture. And she got out. She called me in 2005 and said, I no longer want to serve. And I'll be out in 60 days. I was at ANSTO Academy. I was a tech sergeant. On my way out of the Air Force also. 2 kids, captain, tech sergeant. Go from 2 kids, captain, tech sergeant, to 0 pay, not an option. So I committed to the Air Force as a tech sergeant. You don't understand this woman's resolve. You don't understand what she does for this family. You don't understand these girls are sitting here because of her. My wife has been out of the Air Force for well over a decade. She's never, ever seen any accolades. My wife stepped out one day, took her BDUs off, and closed the chapter. No fanfare. Disillusion with what the culture did to her. And as a serving airman, that ate me alive for many years. Because I know I'm not supposed to stand here. She is. We're supposed to retire a wing commander today, not a command chief. And I heard every day for the last 13, 14 years, knowing what my wife sacrificed so I can stand here. Because when she got out, she invested in me. She made me study. She made me go to school. She made me become a better airman. She made me into a chief. What you heard today has absolutely nothing to do with most people I've run into in the Air Force. It has to do with this one. Because I never wanted this. I wanted to be a humanitarian. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to save those kids. I wanted to save the kids in Hardyville. I wanted to save kids like me. I wanted them to discover reading is great. Algebra isn't Chinese. I wanted that. I I want that now. People asking when I'm retired, I'm trying to reclaim that. I didn't want this. She did. You have no idea. You always tell me that's your success. You always tell me that. And I always say, no, it's your success. Because I know that you would have been a wing commander one day. I know you would have been standing. So I had no option but to be successful. I had to be successful to honor you, to honor your career. And I know there's a funny story real quick. So I literally am the most I don't deserve anything. So earlier we were in here practicing, and I'll be honest with you, so I'm about to I was in here practicing, and I thought this was a step. All of you would agree that this was like a step, right? So I stepped off the stage. But what I did not know, I should have jumped. When I stepped into my wife's shadow box. So the glass is broken. But Shannon, you had no idea for the last 15 years I've had a Ziploc bag. Just imagine glass. Assistance. For the last 15 years, I've been lugging around a Ziploc bag with all of her accomplishments in it. For 15 years, you got out of the Air Force, no luncheon, no fanfare, no one honored a combat veteran. Combat veteran. No one honored her service. No one said thank you. She left. So I'm sorry. So I want to honor your service. This flag was flown over OTS where you killed it, 2002. And it has all of your accomplishments as an NCO and as an officer. And it had your shoulder boards. And I just want to let you know that this isn't about me. I served for you for 25 years to make you proud of yourself and to make you proud of the Air Force again. Story right there. Yeah. So that's it. It's been great. I just want an opportunity to tell my family how much I love them. If they could have did that over some barbecue, I would have been satisfied. But this has been the greatest opportunity of my life. Greatest opportunity of my life. I just appreciate it so much. You have no idea. I appreciate the people giving me opportunity. I appreciate the drive. I appreciate allowing people to let me be a man and allow me to let me be the best human I can be. I had no idea I'd ever be a chief master sergeant. No idea. Nor did I really care at some point in my career. I did care in life. That's what pays for it. But this isn't about being a chief. Serving isn't about being a chevron or star or Oak Big Plus or whatever you're wearing as a rank. Serving has absolutely nothing to do with rank. Service starts here. And if you don't get up with a servant heart, you ain't serving. That's just the bottom line. That's how you live life. That's how you live as a leader. So I wanted to end on a happy note. Shannon, before I spend all our money on whatever I'm about to spend our money on, everybody gonna buy a Corvette. Before that happens, I want you to pick a white rose. And I would be stealing if I didn't say that my brother Tom Styles inspired this. And I love it, man. What does it say?
The Maldives.
We're going to the Maldives.
Yes.
just want to end on a happy note. Don't, so can I have your flowers back? Because I don't want you to look at the rest of the white room. Because we ain't changing up. It's being recorded, and it's going to be on Facebook or something. I mean, we're going to the Maldives. Tickets getting bought in about 45 minutes. Sin. So, you pick a date. We there. You deserve this. You deserve this honor. You deserve this retirement. You deserve this break. And thank you. I didn't cry. Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
We're out, folks. Not gonna hold you here any longer. This has been an honor of my life. Thank you for coming out here and honoring me and my family. I gotta go.
Eddie!